nigga, sit and wait for the ambulance to come. I know if you a shooter, by the way you're handling the gun. Gambling, you're done. Shells burn like candles in the sun. I'm not a fan of gun violence, nor having a strap, but get popped once, and I swear that you'll be scrambling for one. But our plans was to get funds and skate off the set, so I mixed the kush with the dro to make all my weight stretch. I'm from with a dudes rob and argue all day about who's the best MC, Saha Stacks and T.I. while dodging the GBI. My bad, I love GZI, but I'm still the best to ever do it, and I ain't even put a CD out. So the next time you say that I ain't got no lyricists, I just think you ain't got a taste for this exquisite shit. My verses are like Leviticus to the underprivileged. I make music for the world, you make music for a stripper bitch. Nick black leather, beret cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss them and women just wanna kiss them. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. It's that God flow, what they nailed Jesus to the cross for. And he came back 3 days after he died flow. This Pablo, talking to kids in Chicago, mob flow. This that midget New Jersey drive flow. Side note, I wrote this rap with my eyes closed, bravo. Cause it came out clean as the Moss flow, Costco. Hoes selling they twat for a car note. Benny Hunters and Roscoe, Picasso. Nas mixed with a pop flow. Rappers can't stand me. This that Grammy Nas flow. Let me stop though, cause I'm going digital with the syllables. Saw the prince and the royalty like residual. These hoes for me, they supposed to be hospitable. When they in the house with a nigga that's not typical, this not fictional. I run this bitch like elliptical. Can another rapper come out of Atlanta if he not lyrical? Nigga, black leather, beret cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga. Never been a victim, a rebel against the system. Lames wanna diss them and women just wanna kiss them. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga.
This that shot right, where out of towners die at. I advise you book your flight now and fly back. Gangland, bang then, what you claim, fam? Box Chevys, foreigns, $150 flow. Young nigga got bitches at the 50 though. 50 pack done, good, drop off 50 more. My city rough, but I made it in it. Trap house look like it's what K's invented. Trust nobody, even friends, look, I hate up in it. Rhyme dirty with your bitch smoking, wait a minute. LA garage with Illinois and Decatur in it. Nigga snitching, I'm like, way to win it. Nigga looking like a state defendant. Photo look like a two-door. My two-door look like a full-door. I'm cutting up, call me Zorro. Hit him in his mask, get him a body bag. Give me a track, get him a body that.
Man, good morning. It's your boy Sean P in the place to be. I know it's a little early, but man, I gotta get it going. A lot of people will be busy today, cooking for your families. You know what I'm saying? Supporting Turkey Day parade. You know, the festivities of Thanksgiving and what it means to you and your family, whether you are supporting it or not supporting it. You're indirectly supporting it because you're an African American in the middle of a mess that you're forced to be in until you remove yourself. Nah, but on the real, man, I think everybody should take advantage of the day off if you're off and enjoy the peace you keep with your loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Let them have their moment. You feel me? But we're here today because of a video I did last night where I brought on Sister Denise. And we finished up a conversation that was held on a previous channel on the Mossy Warrior Clan YouTube channel. And on that channel, right, she had made a statement, or she had threw something out there, and we just wanted to do a show to gain clarity on what it was that she said. However, It seemed that someone or some people, I don't know, had taken an issue to what had transpired based on whatever they thought was transpiring. All right. So I'm pretty much waiting for the brother to get here. As you can see, the title of the show is "What is Oral Family Tradition or History?" And this brother's coming to lecture me, but this is how we got here.
That's why he didn't want to get into history, and he started talking that fucking tradition shit. And a lot of people, a lot of times will say, well, my family tradition says this, my family tradition. That's not tradition. That's why that's how he won that discussion, by talking about custom and belief. Because if you had family tradition, or if any of us had these Indian, Native American traditions, we would celebrate those. You would need proof of it, because it would be shown throughout your family that this is what we do. That is something that for generations, like we do with Christmas, right? That's a tradition. You don't need to prove that we do Christmas. No, I don't want to hear that from you. I want to hear it from your grandma. I'm showing you what grandma showed me. You see what I'm saying? He helped you with that tradition shit, man. That nigga full of shit.
So
Family tradition and history. And this brother's coming to lecture me.
all right, so we're here, right? Because I'm full of shit. No offense. I don't take no offense to it. I appreciate it, but I'm gonna give the brother an opportunity to actually provide clarity and actually speak on it. So we are joined today by brother Paul, but he got his name as Bitter Paul, and he's going to elaborate on why he felt the way he felt, and hopefully he's here to define and educate us on what is oral family tradition or oral family history, whatever his argument may be, or what he felt was not answered and was taken to a tradition route versus oral family history route, which is his proposed position to whatever that he feels. So I'm not telling him to change his name. If he don't want to change his name, he a grown man. The only person that can't change their name is you. You can't change your name, Honey Clark. Everybody else, they can change their name. But you know what I'm saying? So I would like to welcome Bitter Paul, as you see on the display, to the platform. I don't know if your mic is ready to speak or anything like that, but you can open your mic, man. You can introduce yourself, and then you can speak your piece.
Okay, just for clarity, my name really is Paul. Bitter Paul is a play on my attitude, as many would suggest that I'm bitter, hurt. So it's an embracement, it's sarcasm. Yeah, I think that's enough on that. I ain't gonna go into that. But pretty much, I said pretty much what I said, and we oftentimes conflate the term tradition with history. And as I listened to you and Sister Denise's discussion, brother, you kept talking tradition, which means culture and belief. That's not what most people talk about, although they do say my family tradition is this, that, and the third. It's a misused term. What they're really talking about is their family oral history. My grandmother told me that her mother was born in Louisiana, or my grandmother told me her mother was born in Canada. So what does that say? That's my family history. It's totally different from what the heck you was talking about.
All right, brother. So can you, since it's totally different than what I'm talking about, and they were talking about my family's oral history, can you provide us the actual definition or methodology that is required to substantiate what people are saying when they talk about their family's oral history?
Can I show you documentation? Is that what you're asking me to do?
No. Can you define what family oral history is and what is the steps or methods that one can take in substantiating and providing evidence for
Well, I
that?
don't know about the steps that anyone can take, but I can tell you this: that what we all have experienced at one point in our life, especially at an early age, we are told by our elders about our family history, who our ancestors were to the best of their knowledge, to what they can recollect. So we, as children or young adults, take that information and go with it until we reach a point in our lives where we want to research and find out more. So then we go by what we were taught and start researching it. So then when we research it, we either validate what they say or we find out that it was false and misleading. Real simple, bro. It's really not a real big discussion. You didn't even have to fire up StreamYard for this. But I get it. We can do that. And I said what I said. It's real simple. I don't know why you're trying to complicate it. What is it that you have an issue with? The people that claim to be descendants of the Native Americans and something about the Dawes Roll? Do you not understand that there was a time where actually you even read it where they denied blacks the citizenship, right? Those same blacks were either married or children of those Native Americans and then denied their citizenship. That's something you forgot to bring up. Many of you ignore that. So it's almost a fruitless conversation when you don't take into consideration all the nuances that go with it.
All right. So before I skip ahead to answering any of that, I want to address what you basically said. You said people are talking about their oral family history. And I'm asking you, can you define what is oral family history? How do you arrive at substantiating oral family history? And is it evidence?
What I said was, again, oral history comes from when you're young or at some point in your life when the elders want to start telling you about your family or their part of the family or what they remember from their growing up or their upbringing and their experiences and their witness and what they witness. Now we don't know for certain if what they say is true. We just take it as what they say. It's not until we develop a very serious curiosity that we start researching it. I don't know why you keep trying to hit me with these silly ass fucking nuances and distractions. Or well, can you? I don't get that. It's simple, bro. It's very simple.
All right. If it's simple, bro, very simple, why we can't get a working definition of what it is that we're trying to say is uh, can be used as evidence to prove something, right? You brought up the Native Americans, and I brought up the Dawes Roll, showed the little article where they talked about these people, and yes, blacks married Indians, and yes, some of them even had kids, and the whole 9 yards. That's irrelevant, okay? Because you have people that claim to be indigenous to the Americas, marrying Indians and having kids with Indians is not indigenous, it's not aboriginal, it's none of that. That means you are a part of a people, a group of people who came into the lands of another group of people and you assimilated into that. There's no argument for that. What I am asking for, how do you substantiate claims made by people with no evidence and to the fact of a defining matter? I'm asking you, what is oral family history? And you said that it's just when grandma says something that your uncle told you and her grandmother said something and that's something and then you go to research something like, how do you substantiate what grandmama said, what auntie said, what uncle said, what mama said, what daddy said, what grandpa said, what
I
great
just
grandpa
told you, bro. I just told you, right? You keep trying to act like I didn't answer it. Okay.
didn't.
Oral history is what you are taught is word of mouth. That's what oral history is. It's stories of yours, or not necessarily stories. I hate to use that because that can be so convoluted. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to use that. That's the genealogy of your family. Who great grandma was, where was she born, what was her nationality, who, as far as back as you can go. And I said, this is what I said. It's not until we start getting older at some point in our lives and decide we want to understand more, and then we start doing the research, start looking up names and birth certificates. That's history, not tradition. That's family history. I ain't talking about tradition. Tradition would be beliefs, customs, celebratory things. Let's get that straight, right? So when I'm doing this, whatever method I use to find out or substantiate what I was told, then I know where I can say, well, they didn't lie because here's a documentation. So I still don't know why the freak you keep asking me the same question.
All right, because I think
I
you don't know.
don't
So
get it.
let's give clarity. All right.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
play.
You lead it. You lead it.
All right. So let me read this bullshit article from Senior Helps, How to Create an Oral Family History. This is what you're talking about with grandparents, right? So in this article, basically, it's going to walk you through the process and how to document your family's history. Since this is what you're saying now, there's a fine line here because grandmama gonna lose a lot of the knowledge that she's obtained over the years, depending on when you have this conversation with grandmama. This conversation starts from a photo album book. Who's
Right.
who in your family?
Right.
So let's
right.
All right. So no, hold on. Let me
I'm in agreement with you, bro. I don't mean to interject. I'm just saying, right.
Okay. Cool. So now, this is an interactive course. So what is an oral family history? This is the definition that I was looking for. It's not the facts, such as the births, the marriages, and deaths, but the stories behind the events. In terms of a good interview question, an oral history is more about why and how. I want to make this clear. Oral history is more about why and how rather than what, where, and when. An example of what, where, and when is your mother met your father at this place back in 1976. They were high school sweethearts and went to Malcolm X High School or MLK High School, right? Yes, the MLK offers such and such street. Now, that's telling a child about how his mother and his father met. Now, let's continue. Every family has good stories to tell, and the passing of these stories from one generation to the next bonds the family. Don't skip tough questions. If your loved ones is willing to answer them, elderly folk have lived through and learned from their long life experiences. So it's telling you what to do here. This is basically what oral family history is an interview about your family. It doesn't have anything to do with the other questions that need evidence for answers. They're being specific here. They're opening a photo album and they're talking about all the pictures in the photo album that grandma got stories about. Not evidence and facts for we came here, we did this, and yada yada yada. None of that stuff. So we have to be very careful here. Now, the rest of this article talks about how to prepare your grandparents for an interview, be flexible in the whole 9 yards. Then they give you some questions to ask. Watch, none of this will have to do with being an Aboriginal, an Indian, having sex with Indians, having children by them.
Oh man, you got your skates on this morning, don't you?
Hold on, let me finish, bro.
You got your skates on because see, you bypassed what I said earlier. I said it includes genealogy. I said it includes genealogy, who your people are, and you skip right past that to try to shut me down and make it look like I'm talking about something totally different. Don't do me, bro. Don't do me, bro. Don't. I see right through you. I see right through you, homie.
How did I skip genealogy when I said your grandmother is telling you how your father met your mother?
That's not what I said, bro. I said I started off with saying it talks about who your people are.
Not understanding what I just said, bro.
Man,
I said specifically your grandmother is telling you a story about how your mother met your father.
What is that? I said, hold on. I said, it includes, it starts off with your family telling you who you are and where you came from. You skipped by who you are and who your people are and went straight to, well, let's talk about where you come from, blah, 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 blah. Get out of here, man. Stop playing with me.
Let me reshare. Since I skipped something, you read it. You read what I skipped.
No, I ain't reading nothing. What you're not going to do is do me like you did Denise. I'm not Denise, homie. I'm not reading nothing. You read it.
If you don't read
it, you read it. You read it.
An oral family history is not the fact. I'll say this again. An oral family history is not the facts, such as births, marriages, and deaths, but the stories behind those events. So it's about stories behind those events. In terms of good interview questions and oral history.
So it's limited?
What?
It's limited? History is limited to what?
Oral
that's what you just said.
History. Oral family history is not the facts, but the stories behind those events.
Oh, okay. So wait a minute. It's not facts. It's just stories behind. So it's a made up shit. That's what you're saying, right? So it's a made up shit behind the event. That's what you're saying.
I gave you an
example. You just read, bro.
Did you understand the example that I gave you? Because
that's what you read.
A good example of it.
Man, get out of here.
History is not the facts, but stories behind the events. Your mother met your father at MLK High School. They were high school sweethearts. We couldn't separate them. They went everywhere together.
Hold on. It's not the facts. It's the story. Okay. What are the facts of oral history then? Let's talk about that. The facts of oral history. What are those?
You have to understand what oral family history is before you can understand anything else.
No. Fuck all that.
Bro,
explain to me what the facts are. I didn't think you would. I didn't think you could. You ain't gonna dance around me, homie.
You said something.
I ain't gonna let you dance around me.
And I had nothing to do with none of that.
I'm just telling you, cause your shit, bro. I'm really trying to be. Let me back up and be a little bit more respectful. Let me be a little bit more respectful and not use profanity. Let me be a little more respectful and not use profanity, bro. What you just read, when you said is not the facts, it's the stories. Okay, so if it's forget the stories, what would be considered a fact?
You're not listening.
So wait a minute. So facts is not the facts, but the stories.
Do you know what a fact is? Do you know what a fact is?
Yes, I know what a fact is. Right, but I know. Why don't you just tell me what a fact is? Since we'll assume I don't know.
Since you know, tell us what a fact is.
No. You tell me because I knew that's coming. Because I won't give you a satisfactory answer. Since I won't give you a satisfactory answer, why don't you teach me?
I'm not gonna waste too much time.
I didn't think you would. I didn't think you would. I didn't think you would. I didn't think you would.
I'm not gonna waste too much time with you.
I didn't think you would.
And I'm finna tell you why I'm not gonna waste
Play
too
that
much.
game with her, not me.
No.
Yeah, play that game with somebody else, not me, bro.
Shit. And a lot of people, a lot of times will say, well, my family tradition says this, my family tradition.
Right.
That's why that's how he won that discussion, by talking about custom and belief. Because if you had family tradition, or if any of us had these Indian, Native American traditions, we would celebrate those. You wouldn't need proof of it because it would be shown throughout your family that this is what we do. That is something that for generations, like we do with Christmas, right? That's a tradition. You don't need to prove that we do Christmas. No, I don't want to hear that from you. I want to hear it from your grandma. I'm showing you what grandma showed me. You see what I'm saying? He helped you with that tradition shit, man. That nigga full of shit.
Now, since I'm full of shit, I'm asking a motherfucking question to give.
And I'm answering your motherfucking question, nigga.
You don't understand what you're arguing, bro. Do you
No,
understand?
you don't understand which way you want to go with it to defend your stance. Do you
understand what me and Denise talked about yesterday? Yes or no?
Man, I heard the bullshit. That's why I made the comment, nigga. What are you talking about?
Did you hear Denise's question to me? Yes or no?
No, I heard all that bullshit you spewed.
All right. Thank you. So let me educate you, because you can't answer shit.
You can't educate me because I'm not going to listen to you dance.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Nigga, I don't dance.
Oh, you are.
Clear.
You do an excellent waltz, bro. If I didn't know better, I swear to God, you was a fucking ballroom dancer.
I don't do that. None of that. I'm evidence-based. Until you show me evidence, you ain't doing nothing but running your mouth.
There you go with that show evidence shit.
Not the facts.
There you go with that show evidence shit.
It's not the facts, but the stories. So I gave you an example of how your mother and father met, how they were inseparable. That's the story behind the fact. The fact is your mother and father met at high school. They were high school sweethearts and they were inseparable. Those are the facts. Now, the story behind the facts is they were inseparable. They went places together. They did all of these things. There were some things that are not known to grandmother, but the things that she does know, she can speak to them because it's the story behind the facts.
Okay, here's the fact. Grandma says, hold on, because here's the facts. Let's deal with what you just said. Facts.
Education
time. Now you don't want to hear.
Now you don't want to hear. Now you don't want to do it. You on my platform and you saying you don't know nothing. Pause.
No.
Pause, nigga. Pause. Now you getting talk. What up, Denise? Hold on. Let me get you in here. Real quick. So now it's education time. Sit back, relax, and take notes. I made it simple, and you tried to play me like I was dumb. I was not trying to turn up on your turkey day, nigga. But now I'm finna turn up on your turkey day. Oral family history is not the facts. It's the story behind the facts. I gave an example, and you still didn't comprehend the damn example. So I'm gonna proceed forward. Every family has good stories. When we sit around during the holiday season and we talk about our childhoods, my cousins would like to bring up the fact that I was quick-tempered and had an attitude. And if you wanted to fight me, I was fighting you on sight. It didn't matter if it was 10 of y'all or 5 of y'all. If it was more y'all than me, I really wanted to fight. And if anybody thought they was getting the best of me, I was beating them down. You had to fight me every day. And if you was way bigger than me, I was going to go get a knife and you was going to run across 12th Avenue. They tell the stories. They tell the stories of me being 6 years old, getting on a city bus with no damn parent, and they allowed me to get on there and drop my little nickel and dime in the damn slot machine and get on a bus and go to 100 Oaks Mall and go into the game room and play video games. When I walk out of the store, when I don't have no more money, my damn 18 and 19-year-old cousins see me coming out of there, and everybody was looking for me. Just so happened my cousins was in the mall, and not knowing this was no cell phones, no beepers. You got pay phones and ring dial phones. So people calling people. But my cousin just so happened to see me and be like, what the hell are you doing there? Who you with? And then they bring me home. And then everybody find out where the hell I was at. No one knew I was at but me. That's the story behind the facts. So when it comes to genealogy, right? You're talking about grandma said we came from this place, but we've been here since this place. Now you messing with history. You need archaeology. You need linguistics. You need traditions. You need customs. You need those things that actually generate proof, facts. What are the facts? Not the story. You giving me a story. You're using genealogy to give me a story that only leads to a certain degree. But at some point it ends, and it ends very quickly. So I want to go over real quick before I let you speak. Before I let you speak, Denise, I just want to get a basic search here, bro, because I got plenty more to fucking talk about. What is genealogy? It is the study of families, family history, and tracing their lineages. So if we're using genealogy to do something, watch what it says. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Let me stop here. That means you got to open the photo book and you got to start putting things together. So it requires a methodology. And then you need historical records, which you don't have when we're talking to other people that look like us and they say they've been on this freaking land way before people came into this land. Because now you don't even have to do that. Guess what else you need? Genetic analysis. So now you gotta, what does genetic refer to? Right? Where's the DNA? Now you need the DNA to go along with all of those things to substantiate it. Then you need records. Where can you obtain those records? Now you're obtaining evidence to support all of these different things. When you're talking oral history, that is, bro, this is what I mean by people don't know what the hell oral history is. So before I go further in my notes, I want to give the sister, Denise, an opportunity to speak. Speak, Denise.
Not speak, Denise. I was just, I was coming up here because I was getting so heated, right? I understand what you're saying, right? As far as the history and everything else, but like the stuff that Paul is saying, like I always tell you, is like the common consensus of what an oral history is, which is just something that you're told from the generations before you coming down. So although you're saying, okay, it's the story behind it, but what if they're just telling you that it happened? Like, you know what I'm saying? If your mama was married to, a British man and they had, 3 kids or some shit, you know what I'm saying? There may not be no story behind that, but how can you say it's not of a history?
All right, so great question. Now, this is how you can substantiate if my mother was married. What happens in the United States, right? When people get married, they get licensed, right?
Yes.
When children are born, there's birth certificates, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm giving you how to substantiate what's going on. Now, you can find out the story about how your mother met your father, how the woman met the man, and then they had these British kids from the parents. But if the parents are no longer living, then there's pieces of the story that's going to be missing, and you got to go beyond them. So who is the next people that you can get to obtain that information from? That would mean relatives. That would mean their parents or if the parents had siblings. If the parents had no siblings, then all you have is the parents. If you don't have the parents, then all you have is an end game, because you'll never know unless there's close friends or co-workers that knew of these people and how they interacted and came together and formed a union to have 3 British kids, to get married and have 3 British kids. Someone is always going to be able to substantiate what you have for records. So when we ask for that evidence, it should come in the same sense. It shouldn't be my mama said, my grandmama said, my auntie said, my uncle said. Wait a minute. All these people are saying things, but what do we have to substantiate what they are saying? We don't discard it. We don't throw it in the trash. We look for the evidence to support it. So what do we have from grandmother? Back in the early days, photos were significant. So now we have the photos to put Granny in a particular place. Do we have any photos of her childhood that could help add to that? Who do we have that we can get this information from? Is Mr. Barber still alive? The guy that worked at the drugstore or the store at the corner back in the country where grandmother grew up? Oh, we got lucky. Mr. Barber's kids is working at the store right now. Now we can obtain information from Mr. Barber's kids that could help us go a little bit further and can lead us somewhere else. We're recording things, right? That's allowing us to substantiate opening that photo album and going to work. What's happening is people are opening the photo album and it's all hearsay. There's no evidence. And they're going behind that to change history, not necessarily tell their family stories. It's got away from the family stories, because if it was the family stories, we would hear that first, Denise. We're not hearing the family stories. We're hearing directly what my grandmama said. We've been here. Wait a minute. Is that the only thing your grandmama said? What did she say prior to that? What did she show you prior before that? Like it's missing. It's missing too many pieces to the puzzle. So I want to go back again, Denise. I know you got something to say. Why you got something to say? I'm gonna pull this up. I want you to go ahead, Denise, and say what you got to say.
I don't have anything to say.
All right. So I want to go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, capturing your family's oral history, right? Because there's an African proverb that says, when an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. And we've heard this over and over. So oral history, or the practice of recording and preserving memories and experiences, enables us to capture the wisdom of our living libraries before they pass away and burn to the ground. Unlike other methods of recording, keeping oral histories provide a personal account of pivotal events from individuals who have experienced them firsthand. For instance, how many people have relatives that lived during the civil rights era who did the sit-ins, the bus boycotts, and so forth? That's dealing with pivotal events from individuals who experienced them. Slavery, pivotal events where people experienced them. Runaways, pivotal. Next, the field of study evolved from, listen to where this study evolved from, the long African American oral tradition, and from the Works Progress Administration interviews, which were part of President Roosevelt's New Deal during the Great Depression. Thanks to the artists and writers employed through the program, readers today can relive the experiences of last surviving individuals enslaved prior to the Civil War. Recently, oral historians have documented the memories of African Americans who experienced Jim Crow, racial violence, and the civil rights era. Having these recorded accounts provides an important perspective and context, which enriches our understanding of African American history and culture. However, you do not have to work at the Smithsonian to preserve history. So they give you the following as considerations. Again, it goes back to the photo album. How your grandparents met. Did your grandparents or participate in great migrations? How do members of your family feel about living through the inauguration of the first African American president, Black Lives Matter movement, coronavirus? These are examples. So when we go back and you want to talk genealogy, right? You got to go back and you got to start putting the pieces together. What are the stories? It ain't no, man, listen, my people was here. We was on this. We been right here. They say we always come from right here. We don't know nothing about none of that. We been black, been right here. We don't know what you're talking about. My people wasn't no slaves. They wasn't this, that, and the third. We don't know what you're talking about. Well, what were the stories behind what you're saying? We never get the stories. What is the evidence behind? Where is the evidence behind what you're saying? We never get the evidence. They say their names is on the rolls. We go look at the rolls. We don't see their names on the rolls. We go look at the Freedmen's information because we have the Freedmen's information, which shows people who had bank accounts, properties, and all kind of other intangible things that we can use as primary evidence because the Freedmen's work, the Freedmen's stuff is primary evidence. So we have evidence to substantiate that, but that only goes to a certain degree because you have the era of the Freedmen's. So now we're trying to go behind that, and we can't even really go behind that. So we're looking for pictures. We're looking for context, cues, and clues to help support all of that. We want to see you motherfuckers over here with a culture. Because you had to have a culture if you've been here, and you had to have traditions if you've been here to substantiate. So what were you doing before the first European came here? And how did you survive the Europeans who came here, who brought diseases with them that you were not even familiar with? But the people that they enslaved and brought across the oceans from the South American tip to the Caribbeans up to Americas and across those seas, those people had already come across some of these illnesses that these people already had, so they had developed an immune system to it. The people that were here before the Europeans got here had no development of any type of immunity against any of those diseases that them people had. So now science comes back into play to help show and prove and demonstrate. But let me move forward. If you don't know the answer to the questions, performing an oral history is a great way to learn and preserve your family's experiences for future generations. So they tell you how to begin. First, understand that oral history is about relationships. Take time, plan the details of your oral history so that during your recordings, you can build rapport with individuals you plan to interview. One way to do this is to conduct preliminary interview as part of your research. People ain't doing that. They doing the he say, she say, hearsay.
I have a presenter.
You what?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, okay, since oral history itself is documenting things, it's oral history. So why do we need? You're telling me I need evidence and I need all this other stuff to back up oral history, but that I don't see how that makes any sense.
Because in America, it's different, right?
Can I say something?
They were writing during these periods. If you understand if you go back 500 years, they were writing. If you go back to the start of what we call in America today, they were writing. Coming into this country as colonizers, they were writing, they were documenting, right? So the people that were here before the colonizers and the documenters were here coming into the country, they didn't have writing and documentation. So what they had was, let me go back to it, they had folklore, song and dance, customs, traditions, things of that nature. Now, do you see where I'm going, Denise, before we let the brother speak?
I see where you're
Prior
going.
to the Europeans coming into the Americas, they wasn't over here writing and stuff like that, but they had language. They had to be able to communicate. They were drawing, they had art, they had those type of things. Though that's how you look at that. And I'm trying to get people to see this from an anthropological perspective. This is how anthropologists analyze human beings, the evolution of mankind through history. What were they doing before these colonizers came and documented shit? They were sitting around telling stories to one another, educating. All humans did this across the world without any contact with one another or knowing the other existed. Through song and dance, through these smaller stories, explaining the natural world. So when we ask people, if your people been here way before the colonizers, right? Where are those things that latch on to what these other people that been here have preserved? Because you're going to preserve some part of your material culture. Even Africans who were kidnapped and brought to the Americas hundreds of years later preserved elements of material culture from West Africa, West and Central Africa, and some parts of East. How could that be preserved? But you couldn't preserve anything prior to that. You still got staple food, buffaloes and stuff like that. You come on now. But go ahead, brother.
No, you just keep parroting yourself and so long-winded. You make me almost forget my point. You really do. What do I want to tackle first? Let's tackle documentation first. I don't know what year you were born. I was born in 1971. My birth certificate says black. My children that were born in the 90s have no race, ethnicity on their birth certificate. Should Congress or whoever decide that Black Americans, African descendants of North America can receive reparations, but they have to prove it, my birth certificate would help my children identify me as their father and being black, and also using and seeing that their grandparents were identified as black. But then there might be that red tape where now they have to prove that they are black. Can't prove it because it's not documented other than on an application. So this is what I want to talk about when we talk about documentation. There's so much so many tampered documents. The Dawson Roll, the ships that carried African slaves and all that. You know, so much corruption within documentation. So I think we need to be careful with always requiring that. Number two, what do I want to address? Because you said a lot. History. Most times when we talk about family history, and I'm gonna parrot myself, most people consider family history to contain the genealogy of our ancestry, where our ancestors were born, whatever they can tell us about what they know, right? And what they know is what they were taught. So they pass down what they were taught to us. And then we, in turn, should be passing it down to our children. And with that being said, sometimes our elders will say, yeah, I remember that day back in such and such and such. That's the story of something they experienced. But most oftentimes, more Black people are more concerned about who we are. That's the biggest question to Black people in North America. Who are we? Am I an African descendant? Am I Native American? Aboriginal, whatever you want to call it, right? And I don't want to get into the whole Aboriginal and just that, but you have a gist of what I'm trying to, what my point is. There are Native Americans who did interbreed with blacks, period. So once that interbreeding happened, you have descendants. They are now related to those people, whether you want to accept that or not. Now, some of them say that, no, we've always been here. Well, I'm on the fence with that. I'm not going to say either way on that. But you know that things get lost and stolen through history. Yes, a lot of us claim to be from West Africa and don't know nothing about West Africa. Can you prove that you're from West Africa? No, what you have to do is just go through genealogy, right? Because you can say it. Hold on. Now, my ancestor said, or my grandma said, no, we're from West Africa. You wouldn't argue with that. You wouldn't argue against that if I said that. Because that's something you just believe is true. But if I say, but if or you say you're from West Africa, and I say, okay, well, prove it. Well, I ain't got to prove it. Look. What West African traditions do you follow? What West African traditions do you celebrate? What can you show me that your family has that says you're West African outside of your DNA? That would be tradition shit. See, that's what you're talking about, tradition. You keep going back to tradition, whereas most black people are more concerned about where do we come from, mama, grandma, who are we? Who is that man in that picture? He looks white. Oh, he's not white. He's mulatto. You understand what I'm saying? This is where you get the whole conversation convoluted, and this is my problem with you. And I land the plane because it was, you said so much. I wanted to address everything, but you went so long.
Anything that I said when I was very clear? Did you understand anything that I said? Yes or no? You're on mute. I'll come back to you. All right, so I'm gonna be clear. I don't know how much clearer than I actually can be. Okay. If my grandmother told me that Jesus was a real person, and I believe that, for the life of me, for the rest of my life, I just believe that without doing any research to substantiate that Jesus was a real person or that I was a Christian and have always been. That is a choice that I made to not support it with evidence. If my grandmother told me, you got feedback. If my grandmother told me that I come from Africa and I believe that, then without any evidence, then I just believed what she said. The moment that I go to obtain knowledge to substantiate what grandmama said, I am in the realm of either providing evidence for what my grandmother said or evidence against what my grandmother said, meaning that I am allowing a process to answer my identity or my belief. Now,
brother, that's what I said initially. I said that initially. I'm just, that's for clarity. Did I not say that earlier?
I'm trying to make it clear because you said you didn't understand nothing. So I'm trying to make it clear. Now, when I go and I find evidence that contradicts what my grandmother told me, what evidence? Anthropology, paleontology, archaeology, genetic evidence, linguistic evidence. Then I begin to answer the things that were wrong, honestly, based on the field of studies in which help me answer the questions. Now to answer
You just said what I said
I don't
earlier.
need you interrupting right now, bro. Now to answer about my grandmother saying I come from
I
West
said
Africa.
that shit earlier. You
No,
verified.
you didn't.
I
You
said
no,
go
you
research
didn't.
it. Listen to your damn
you
show.
didn't. No, you did
Yes, I
not.
did.
Bro,
Yes.
you didn't. God damn. Now, to answer the question about Africa, if my grandmother said we come from Africa, how could we substantiate that? You said that we couldn't substantiate that. And what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, you can, because there's Africanisms in America through language, art, whether it be folklore, song, customs, traditions, whatever the hell we can find it there because there's Africanisms in it. Staple foods. We have food that is from the continent that we make over here unconventionally, and we think it's something that we just really started here, but no, it ties back to West Africa. The way that we farmed, cropped, that answers questions. I'm dealing with history here. I'm not dealing with no bullshit. So to say that I can't answer those questions is crazy. You just made up a whole bunch of stuff and then you decided that you're going to go against all of that. Denise, where are you at?
I'm right here.
When I asked you, was I clear on what I said? You didn't answer. Did you understand anything that I said?
I understand what you're saying.
So how is it that he can propose that I am making no sense?
Because you're not understanding what he's trying to say.
Are you sure of that? Because I made it very clear. Okay,
I understand what you're saying, right? But
explain to me what he's saying.
Because you keep saying that you need things to substantiate oral history. Well, oral history is
No, stop.
thing.
No, stop.
You are
Remember, I defined what oral history was. He couldn't define it. So I defined it. I gave an example. I did.
But
so I didn't try to act like I didn't understand what he said.
Though.
Denise, I'm going to say it one more time. Oral history is about storytelling.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with facts. But it is about how two people met. It is not about facts. It is about how the people met. Denise, do you understand that? Yes or no?
It's the story behind the facts.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that it is the evidence, though. It is the evidence. If the fact is that these two people met, then the oral history is the evidence of that fact.
Denise, so when my grandmother said I was Native American, is that evidence?
No.
Is it oral history?
No, but the story
stop. Don't jump. Follow me, please. Because you're about to open the can of worms. Is it evidence? You said no. I said, is it oral history? You said no. Well, what is oral history? It's the story.
I know.
So why is no story being told?
Okay, I mean, I understand that.
All I'm trying to get you to understand is that they're telling us that they're telling us that they've been here, that they ain't these mongoloids or whatever the hell the sister be saying all the time. They say these things and they never give us the story. What's the story? The story is my grandmother.
If they gave you the story, would you accept it?
I need the story because it is in the story that we can research to get the evidence to substantiate it.
Okay.
All right, let me give you an example. What high school did you go to?
Andrew School.
You went to Andrew School. Where were you born?
In Westlake.
Who?
In Westlake.
Speak up.
In Westlake.
Westlake where?
Westlake, Ohio.
Okay, so you're from Westlake, Ohio, and you went to what school?
Andrew School for Girls.
Okay, so you went to an all-girls school.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the problem. Yeah. All right. So Denise from Westlake, Ohio, went to Andrews, which was an all-girls school. What year did you attend this school?
Oh, what years did I attend it? 7th
Yes.
or 12th? I don't know, 97 to 2002, I guess.
You don't know when you attended the damn school?
I said 97 to 2002. I know when I
Thank you.
graduated.
All right, you graduated in 2002. Thank you. Damn, that was hard. Now, so let's deal with the example of oral history. All right.
Mhm.
Andrews is an all-girl school which was built around when was it built? Do you know?
No, I think
All right.
like
So
1800
we
or
don't know.
something.
We know it's an all-girl school that you graduated from in 2002 that's probably been in existence for quite some time. Now, there's a story behind what led to the school being built, but there's also a story behind the 4 years you attended the school. Something major happened between 97 and 02 at that school. Do you recall that major event?
At the school?
Yeah.
I mean, no. Like, I mean, we got stuff built and shit, but I don't know nothing major between then. I know major history like that happened in history, like 9/11 happened my senior
Right.
year.
But we could talk about 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Where were you during 9/11? Like, we could tell a story about where we were behind 9/11. So the
Yeah.
facts is 9/11 happened, but the
Uh-huh.
story behind 9/11 is significant to us
Uh-huh.
because where we could talk about where we were. I was in the cave in Clarksville, Tennessee, right? Getting some food when the first
Hey, that's
plane
my
hit the building,
school.
right? Listen
Yeah.
to me. Listen to me. I was at Austin Peay State University at a PWI. At the time, the towers was hit. I literally was getting some food when all of this transpired. The news was on, CNN was on. They were reporting the first strike, right? Everybody was living their busy lives while these planes were being hijacked and stuff. It was going down. That's the story behind 9/11. Now, my kids can substantiate that. My father was enrolled at Austin Peay during this time period in 2011, right? They also can support it with what? The transcripts from Austin Peay, which could be obtained. We have his college transcripts. His college transcripts put him in Clarksville, Tennessee at the time of the event. Now, his debit card was used to purchase food. Do you have evidence for that? Yes, we have the receipt. We found an old receipt. We found his college transcripts, an old receipt from the CAV in Clarksville during the time of the 9/11 events. That's evidence to support the story. I'm trying to give you the best examples that I can to help us be able to say, all right, we can actually do this. If I've been here before these Europeans and these Mongoloids, Caucasoids, Zalazoids, if I was here before all of that, I can really do this. But I need the stories, and then I need to go search for the evidence. Now, most people, especially people of color, hit a lot of information in Bibles, in other books, and then there's records. You have records at the local library, at the local administrative offices. You got that, you know what I'm saying? You have evidence that you can go seek, but you have to go into it properly. You can't just tell me a story. You can't just say, my grandmother said, And then we can't get nowhere. It stopped at grandmother. And then you can't say you keep talking about traditions. No, I'm not talking about traditions. Because if you're here before that, then I can get into that. But first, I got to get into the story. You ain't got no story. Now I need, all right, so can you give me some material culture? Some traditions. Something that has been passed down from generation to generation to you over time. Now, it might not be the way and exact as it was when it was initially started, because we know over time you lose certain things, but you should have some meat and potatoes. From that story, we can do exactly what I just said. You didn't know your school was built in 1910.
Nope.
So let's deal with it. This is significant. You didn't know this, but you attended this lovely academy. You were a privileged child, right? So let's deal with it. They established the Andrews Institute for Girls in 1910 that reflected their belief in educating a young woman to be self-supporting. The school would continue to educate young women for decades to come. In 1922, a young woman was born in Lake County, Ohio, who would live a remarkable life, creating a legacy that will endure for all time in the history of Willoughby and Lake County. Jerome T. Osborne, after most humble beginnings, was known for his entrepreneurial spirit and unrelenting energy. This is the story, Denise. This is why I'm throwing down this. This is the story. Now, I can start from the beginning. Founders Day is an annual event that honors Margaret St. John Andrews. So we know Margaret St. John Andrews is an annual event to honor Founders Day. February 10, 1846, who was born. So this lady was born here, right? Now, what we can do here from the story is we can go find evidence for this lady's existence in 1846. Is there something in 1846 that the U.S. was doing in the 1800s that we could use to validate the validity of this person's existence? Yes, there's what is that? The census records, right? You can use the census records to go back and find the St. John, the Andrews, somewhere in Ohio. Now, the next part of that is young visionary Wallace Gordon Andrews and his wife, Margaret. So they were freaking married, living in Willoughby, Ohio in 1877, were firm believers that women needed to be self-sufficient and self-reliant.
Yes, indeed.
What can we find to substantiate the existence of these two people?
Their marriage.
No. Don't whisper under your breath.
I
know.
understand.
I heard you say
okay.
you get it. I heard you say you get it, but you can't. You can't keep defending pseudo. If you get it, you can't keep defending pseudo.
I'm not defending it though. I was.
You did. Oh, all right, hold up. You ain't defending. See, now you're gonna make me be. Now you're gonna make me be a little angry, right?
So I was just saying.
No, you defended pseudo. This dude told you that I was trying to lead you astray down an area that had nothing to do with oral history. I'm giving you a piece of your high school's oral history because people went back and recorded it and wrote it out so that they can put it on the damn website for the school. They knew where it started. It started from two people who were married, who believed that women needed to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. So they established the damn school in 1910. Let me continue. Now, just in the first sentence, you can go find supportive evidence for the story at the beginning. You got birth certificates or consensus that will show the Andrews being in this particular area during this particular time. You will have other information, banking statements, whatever you can find. You can go and search for that. You can go find this. You can go find this from the Andrews family themselves. There's going to be pictures. There's going to be all kinds of things at your school that I ain't even seen. But they're going to have them there showing you these people and their existence. Hell, they probably going to say the damn school was built on their damn land. Let's just see. In 1922, a young man was born. We don't care nothing about that. He creating a legacy of Willoughby in Lake County. That young man was John T. Osborne. After a most humble beginning, known as an entrepreneurial spirit and unrelenting energy, often referred to as the greatest businessman of all time, of philanthropic endeavors. Through his philanthropic endeavors, may
That's
be
not
what he
Phillips
remembers the most.
Osborne.
What?
Yeah, that's not part of my
Oh,
school
you're agreeing.
history. Forget that.
Oh, you mad now?
No, I'm mad because you're talking about when they decided to bring boys to my school. That's annoying.
So now you mad because an all-girls school brought boys to the school. So now you mad about that.
Yes.
This has nothing. But hold on, time out. I'm out. But see, when I asked you, did something historic happen during your years there? You said no, but something at the school during history, and this is the thing that you didn't like.
Because that happened after I graduated. They merged with the Phillips Osborne Academy, and they're still on the land where my school is. It's Andrews, called Andrews Osborne now. So they're still on the land where the school is, but it is a co-ed school now.
So now Andrews Osborne Academy is a co-ed school. It is no longer an all-girls school, and your heart is broken.
Yes.
And it became a co-ed school after you graduated. So in 2007 is when it became a co-ed. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. See that day right here. So now, how it began, it begins with a story. You didn't say, well, my grandmama said I had to go to this school because it was the only school that I could go to. It wasn't the only school.
No, my mom made me pick between that school or a Catholic school and going to
You is
mass.
not understanding the intent and purpose
Was
of what I am
horrible.
insinuating here.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that's the story behind it. Pero, my point is,
okay, that's the story behind your mother made you.
Yes.
Pick between a Catholic school and this school.
And an all-girls school.
So you had a choice. You had an option between two schools, and those are the only two schools you had an option for. But how can we substantiate that? We get your mama on the phone. What's the story behind making your daughter select between these two schools? And guess what she gonna do? The fact is, here's the facts. Let's deal with the facts. The fact is, your mama gave you two options for school. That's a fact. She said you choose, you got to go here or you got to go there. But we don't know the story behind the facts. So we got to call your mama to get the story behind the facts of why you had to choose that. Because you're going to tell us one side of the story and she going to tell us another side of the story. But hold on. Now I'm finna muddy the waters. What if you didn't even have the damn story?
What do you mean? My story?
Yeah. What if your daughter didn't have your story? Let me make it more plain to you. What if your daughter who's trying to tell her child their history on how you attended this school and she didn't have the damn story? She just know you went to that school. She ain't got no story behind why you ended up at this school, because the child is asking, well, why did she have to go to that school? You know what? I don't even know. Grandma and great grandma not even here to tell us that. All I know is that she went to this school right here. That's all I know. So your daughter gotta, your granddaughter gotta substantiate that. Can we find out from friends or family why she had to choose that? I'm just speaking. What if you didn't tell your friends or family this story? Or no one else knew of this story? Then it's a dead end. But can your child and your grandchild find evidence of you attending Andrews?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's how that shit works. People are trying to act like they don't understand what I am saying. I am using how to use oral history. And this motherfucker trying to tell me that I keep throwing out traditions. If you don't have the story, then you gotta have something else to support it. What else can you have? You gotta have the evidence. So now I need the traditions. I gotta have the material culture. If I can't get the story, I gotta have the material culture. If you can't tell me none of that,
Okay. So okay.
I ain't finished. But go
So
ahead.
wait, so it's
Go
almost
ahead.
like, okay, if I said Andrew, right, but I
You broke up.
say my
You broke up.
it's like if I'm saying I go to Andrews, but let's say I said I went to Andrews, that's part of my oral history, but I don't have anything to support it. I lost my high school diploma. I don't have any of my yearbooks. Okay. So if I gave So you're saying like the oral history would be me saying different things that the school did. So every Wednesday we had formal lunch. Every spring we had day
You breaking
the
up.
people from like our school because it was a boarding school. So all the people who went like I'm just saying like so the oral history would be me telling stories about the school and about traditions of the school that I participated in. Because my thing
Yeah, it would
is,
be
like you keep saying, if you
the story is your experiences. Your experiences is the story.
right,
You're
but
talking
I'm
about
saying
something
because
factual.
the
You're
the point in having oral history is wouldn't that be
just
in lieu of
just
you
hold
not
on.
having the
Hold on.
documentation?
Hold on. You're going first, you're breaking up. Second, you're trying to run somewhere without understanding first that you just orally told us some things about the school while you were there.
Right.
You just gave us the story. You didn't write it down. You didn't. You told us. Now we can substantiate that by going back and looking at the time that you were at the school because the school has records. They have attendance records. They got listen, they got the very first people who attended this Joker. Whenever record keeping started, they have to have reports of that stuff. That's why when you come to school, the first day of school, the teacher does what to everybody when they come in the classroom?
Yeah.
Off the rip, it's all about who everybody is, ain't it? Names and faces. They either got your name already on your desk or they let you select your desk and then they start having you fill out a card that has your name on it so that your teacher can remember your face. Everybody went through that. But we didn't have to write that down to know that's a custom in the educational system. That's one of the ways that these teachers learn who's who in their classrooms. And if one of those faces is missing the next day, the teacher can point that out. But you just gave me a synopsis of some of the things that transpired at your school. That's the story. Now we can go support that with facts, with evidence, because you gave us enough of the story to allow us to go support you. It didn't stop at my mama said, my daddy said. My auntie said. My uncle said. It didn't stop at that.
I get it. Okay.
You get it. But the thing is, the brother professed that I was trying to lead you down traditions and have a conversation about your traditions and not history, when he don't even understand that what I'm doing has to, they both, it requires the same methodology. Now, so this is what I mean by that. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I do have everything that I have on the screen, Denise. You ain't even got to search for it. It's in the description of the video, meaning that I prepared this in lieu of helping educate people or helping them obtain the information that is required for them to move forward in their knowings of what the hell going on. But in the table of contents from this article, it tells you here, discovering oral history. What is it? I'm going to get to that in page 1 because it's only page 1. Understanding oral tradition, which is 2. Planning a project, where to begin, establishing ethical relationships, preparing legal documents, choosing digital recorders, using digital media, focusing on focuses and research topics, selecting narratives, creating an interview outline, composing questions. This is a process. How many people that you know, Denise, that we've had running conversations with, back chats, YouTube channels, whatever the case may be, have done all of these things right here? Look what number 17 says. Critiquing and citing oral histories.
Okay.
So, oral history is a sound recording of historical information obtained through an interview that preserves a person's life history or eyewitness accounts of a past experience. But read on. Oral history recording helps listeners better understand how individuals from various viewpoints and different stations in society encounter the full range of life in their day. Creating an oral history requires 2 people, not one person, 2 people. One who questions and one who narrates response to the questions. 2 strengthens, distinguishes oral history interviewing. And then it goes on. I'm not reading all this because I'm giving it to y'all. That's why you got oral historians. This thing gives you the breakdown. What does oral history do? Helps us round out the story of the past. I'm going to say it again. Round out the story. What did I say, Denise? Didn't I say it requires a story? Doesn't deal with the facts? I said that. So when you say you've been here before other people been here, what's the story behind it? How do you know that? If you was here before the Mongoloids, the Caucasoids, and whoever Zoids, where's the story behind that? How was it told to you? We need a picture of the past. Look what it says. Oral history provides a fuller, more accurate picture of the past by augmenting the information provided by public. Look what it says, Denise. Can you see this? Let me zoom in. My bad, y'all. My bad. My bad. Look what it says, Denise. By augmenting the information provided by public records. Did I mention public records? Yes, I did. Statistical data, photographs, maps, letters, diaries, and other historical materials. Eyewitnesses to the events contribute various viewpoints and perspectives that fill in gaps in documented history, sometimes correcting or even contradicting written record. Ooh. Interviewers are able to ask these questions left out of other records and to interview people whose stories have been untold or forgotten. At times, an interview may serve as the only source of information available about a certain place, event, or person. Do you want an example?
I understand, Sean. You want to give an example?
No, I don't. If you need an example, I can give you an example.
I understand what you said. I already said I understood. I get it. The
You
oral
understand, but
history.
you got to remember we have an audience that seems to have an issue with what transpired yesterday because they didn't understand what the hell you said on the show
Oh,
prior to that. And he
I
made
know,
that clear.
but I'm saying like, okay, but so they think that oral history could be just somebody saying that something happened, and you're saying like, okay, the oral history would be the story. The story can then be substantiated. It can't just be basically something just thrown out there, right?
Yeah. People think, but they're okay. Oral history requires a story. No
Yeah.
matter what, no matter what, it requires the story. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. If you say you Aboriginal and that you were here before all these other people, we'll deal with the evidence later. Tell us how you got here before everybody else. What's the story behind your existence? Since you've always been here. What's that story? What does it look like? I don't know the story. My grandmama just said we always been here. Really? You ain't listen. All right. You remember yesterday when I was talking to you about my great granny's past, what she experienced, I gave you a story. I don't think you caught that then. I was giving you a story. And then I turned around and I told you geographically the location in which where she grew up. I said today it is known as I-65 and Old Hickory Boulevard in Brentwood, Tennessee. Behind a business now, but a restaurant that people knew as Shoney's on the hill. People familiar with Brentwood, Tennessee, specifically this area of Brentwood, Tennessee, off of Old Hickory Boulevard and I-65, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you that are not, you can go exactly to the destination. Because if you're going I-65 south through Nashville, Tennessee, you will see a sign that says Old Hickory Boulevard. You wouldn't get off on the first exit because it'll veer to the right. You would get off the second exit, which would be Old Hickory Boulevard, I believe like east. You would loop around, and when you loop around off the exit, the very first light that you come through after looping around, you take a right and go up a hill. That would be the destination. That is the geographical location. Now, to support that, I have photographs, public records, statistical data. I will have historical material. I have the name of the person who owned my people.
Oh yeah, I remember. That's right. That's what they gave it to the slaves. I understand.
No, hold on. You understand, but it's not just about you. Remember, we got an audience that that's listening. Right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to talk about it. I'm trying to get the story, and I haven't got the story. All we're getting is we've been here. I'm just here to make you think. Yada 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 yada. You arguing over something that happened during the Civil War, but you ain't going behind that. Then you're using genealogy as a front when it isn't substantial. You're using genealogy, but not even telling the story. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it is within the story that we can start to extract evidence. And if we can't find evidence for what you're saying in the story, we're just looking at you like you bullshit. So Oral history helps us understand how individuals and communities experience the forces of history. Oral history teaches us what has changed and what has stayed the same. So now when you get off I-65 East and you go right over there to where my people was at, you're going to see other businesses. You're going to see new buildings. You're going to see something more modern. It don't look nothing like it did back in the early 1900s when my granny was there. It don't look like 100 years ago. When I talk about me in the hood that I grew up in, where on the side street where I was doing my thing, it don't look like that no more. It's gentrified. They be like, ain't no way in hell you was over here hustling, bro. You wasn't running from no police right here. How? You see what I'm saying? So then I had to show the evidence. I would have to go back before that. I would go to these pictures, bro. Look, this, you see this house? Here go the house. You see the address? This the address. You see my cutlass in front of this house? That's my cutlass in front of this house on this corner at this same exact location. But that house don't look like that now, does it? But that is the address. You see the street sign? I got the stop sign with the street that says 11th Avenue in Ackland. In a picture with my cutlass. That ain't your cutlass. There go the registration. There go the title. I sold it to Bruiser. Who the hell is Bruiser? There's a story behind that. Sold a car to Bruiser. Bruiser never had a chance to go get the title switched over into his name because he let his sister drive it and she wrecked it into a telephone pole because the car was too fast and she hit the gas and that mug went boom into a telephone pole and he totaled the dang on cutlass. And the police called me and says, hey, is your car missing or stolen? The police called me. Is your car missing or stolen? I was like, no, I just literally sold my car. We found it in the projects.
You're your car stories, bro.
No, I'm just saying, like, people act like they don't know it. It is the story, and then you go substantiate it with everything else. So I'm running this down, man, because I don't want people to sit here and not get the lesson behind it, the intent behind it, right? Because this is going to lead me into my show later today, where I'm going to get into tonight. I'm gonna get into, the history of these Native Americans because that's key. And all this got something to do with that. I'm tying all of that in. So I leave source after source after source after source after source because I know y'all need it. Now, how do you use oral history methodology? The art of interviewing. It always comes from that. So it provides you with the significance of oral history because I'm not taking it away and I'm not discounting it. And I'm just trying to give validity to what it is that people are seeking.
Okay, so basically, you want the stories.
I want the story.
Not just the.
My grandmama said,
the statement.
Right. And then I want your methodology that you use to prove
so
it.
If they said their grandmama said that they were Native American because, and then told all these stories that led up to them being Native American, you would accept that.
No.
And look,
Our grandmama said Jesus walked on water. You see how you smacked your lips? You see how quick you dismiss? No. Do you see how quick you dismiss that shit? Come on, man, build with me. Do you see how quick you dismiss that? You see what I'm saying? You see how easily that was for you to dismiss that? You was like, bullshit. Without even saying it, you smacked your lips so fast, like, I ain't even finna get into that bullshit. You said that. But how is it that you can take that approach when I made that statement, but it's not that when it comes to other fields or other claims that people make? What we have for the past few years, you've had people claiming things that they don't have a story or evidence for.
Okay.
Read this right here for me. Just read this right here for me. Just all this right here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now, before you read it though, this is just this is techniques, right? In helping one understand what they need to do. Cause I just ain't finna beat up your bull crap belief. I'm trying to give you a way to go out and prove it. So read the introduction for me.
Oral history interviewing is one more tool in a larger repertoire of methodologies used for research in history, anthropology, and folklore. Oral history collects information about the past from observers and participants in that past. It gathers data not available in written records about events, people, decisions, and processes. Oral history interviews are grounded in memory, and memory is a subjective instrument for recording the past, always shaped by the present moment and the individual's psyche. Oral history can reveal how individual values and actions shape the past, and how the past shapes present day values and actions. Every interviewing experience is unique. This is a part of the charm of fieldwork. So while there is some validity in the adage, the only way to learn how to do it is to do it. There are things you can do before, during, and after your interview to make every interview more successful.
Thank you. So then it goes on to talk about the before the interview, because this is significant. Now, somebody told me that they auntie had a bunch of information or was trying to put things together to kind of put their family tree into existence. Now, on Facebook, my cousin, Paula, she is responsible for trying to put everything together. So what she did was she devised a group and added all the family members in it. And we all been adding to parts of our histories and experiences from what we know and what we can recall, and then we go back and provide the information and the evidence for it: obituaries, pictures, um, um, if we lived in particular areas, where we initially started living, all these different things, right? So that's going out and tackling this. Stories that were told by our great grandfather, that were passed down, the church that all of us grew up in, that this African man that lived in the church, who knew my grandfather, their experiences, all of this transpires because we started talking and extracting more information from one another. And my uncle, he was so excited. He was like, well, we know exactly where we come from, and we got friends in high places and relationships that go back to the continent of Africa. And I'm like, okay, go on, tell me about it, Unc. And he tells me the story. Then he supports the story with the man came all the way from Africa and lived at the church. The church is on Lawrence Street, Nashville, Tennessee, on the south side, where I grew up at. Up there was the living quarters. It's no longer there, but my great grandfather had a living quarters for this guy to come from Africa to go to school here in the Americas, and he provided him with shelter. He tell me the story, bag it with the information. He bags it with the evidence. He gives me everything that I need to go line that story up, and talks about that relationship and how my great grandfather, where he come from in Africa, and how he knew where he come from in Africa. So we go and we walk those steps, And then we use the genetics, we use the linguistics, and we use the other things that help us do what we need to do. And we just go from there. But listen, I'm trying to drive the point home. I'm trying to drive the point home. If you say you've been here, why is oral history project needed? For those of you who claim to be putting together a project, because it would help you determine what information you are seeking, what information you already know about the topic, and what information is yet unknown. But you got to make sure that oral history is the best way to gather the information you seek. Are there people you can reach who can and will tell you what you want to know? If the answer is no, be the fuck honest. Go seek advice on your research idea from persons with various viewpoints on the topic. Ask them to help you refine your topic, uncover background information, and locate persons to interview. How many people, Denise, are you seeing going through these methods to help them stand on a square?
Not many.
Have you found one person since you want to be like that?
Yes.
Who?
It's somebody in our back chat that's like that.
Man.
Yeah, and they go through all of their culture,
Stop the
all of their history, and everything else.
They say they Native American?
Yes, but they're not African American though. So fair fact.
Oh, they're not African American.
No.
Okay.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying. You've expressed it enough. I get what you would need for something to be oral history. More than a statement, a story. I got it.
I mean, we sitting here and we playing this game like we don't know what we're talking about. So look, we're about to
But
be
I
jumping.
didn't know that at first because oral history to many and even me, like, okay, before we read it yesterday, would have just been something that's just told to you. You know, not the actual story, right? But just something that's told. You know what I'm saying? You don't always know the story behind it. It's just like, oh yeah, well, you know, well we got some Native American in our family, yeah, because you know one of our people married whatever, but you don't really know the story. You don't know all of the stuff that goes with it, so you just take it as oral history because it's just a folk tale kind of that's been passed down. But I understand what you're saying. Like, okay, if you actually have a story that goes with that, it makes it more of a history. It's because it's a tale of how things came to be.
I tell your girl, man, she don't know when I'm aggravated. I ain't aggravated. You just working. You just working. You don't know how to read people. I guess your pseudoisms ain't kicked in or something. You ain't had your coffee or something because you don't know what you're talking about.
You had your coffee. Ooh, let me make some coffee.
Before I bring on Ibaka in real quick, because before I bring him in to join us in the conversation, what I'm getting at is, what if I said I'm from, where you say you from again? What part of Ohio?
I'm in Cleveland.
No. Where you from?
Westlake.
There you go. If I said I'm from Westlake, you gonna ask me where in Westlake did I grow up? Is you not?
Oh, probably not, because I didn't grow up there, so I don't know much about it.
Okay, so where did you grow
up? I grew up.
Let me use that example since you tried to play that to the.
I would East Cleveland, and I do that when people say they're from East Cleveland.
Right. So if I said I was from East Cleveland, what's your next question to me to validate if I'm from East Cleveland?
Where did you grow up? What street? Who you know?
Right. You're gonna ask me who I know, what street, how long, you know what I'm saying? If I can't answer all of those honestly, what you gonna say?
That you ain't from East Cleveland.
Exactly. Exactly. If I ain't got if I don't have no evidence from being from East Cleveland, you gonna tell me I ain't from East Cleveland. You're going to tell me that nah, you can't be. You might live there now, but you can't tell me what happened back 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
You
You
could have
can't
used
tell
that
me what
example
happened.
first.
Huh?
You could have used that example first.
I could have used that example first.
Yeah.
No, sometimes you just can't go for the home run early. You got to drag some shit out. But that's what I'm trying to say. Now it really clicked when I said that. When I used East Cleveland, the shit clicked. Now it's like, oh, the conversation over. But look, man, we joined by brother Ibaka. He's on the panel. He's been listening to the discussion. I don't know how much of the discussion he has heard, but he has joined us. And I want to kind of turn the floor over to our brother and give him an opportunity to speak. Bro, peace to you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, peace, family, peace. Peace to the sister Denise. Man, I just got off work. I checked out quite a bit. I probably missed the first 30 minutes or so. So I just immediately got on my laptop and just started combing through my library. Did you bring up what Africanisms are, Brother Sean?
No. The brother, I put him in the back, and then I was gonna bring him back, but he dipped out. So I didn't want to get into the Africanisms that are in America, because I don't think that he was familiar with that, because he was so entrenched in assuming what he assumed. You feel me? He assumed that we didn't have evidence for West Africa here in the Americas, or Africa in general. Right. And
yes,
that's a little bad, because in New York, they have something that's very familiar at his fingertips that he could find out. The African burial ground.
That's right.
And in the burial grounds, you find what? Indrinka symbols. Where are Indrinka symbols aligned with? Who? Oh, Ghana.
Yep.
Oh, the Akan.
Yes, sir.
Oh, is that the only place that we can find African burial grounds? No.
Nah, not at all.
There's other African burial grounds. This was just monumented. What up, Ogun?
And that's what I wanted to know. Because I mean, I got a cool little book here. It's called African Reflections on the American Landscape. And it comes out with a lot of that information, such as the burial grounds, African burial grounds, the creolization of African American culture. For something to be Creole, it has to be mixed, and so what are you mixed with, as far as culture is speaking, right? European culture mixed with African culture. So I would say this, just to give a nugget, because I know you'll probably do like another show on this, talking about Africanisms. One of the main things I bring up with people in this climate today is jazz. Jazz. If you study the history of jazz, that speaks, volumes of the contribution of the African soul, the African spirit, that's embedded, within our culture. You don't have what they would call Native American culture within us, foods, things like that. The fact that we have gumbo, speaks volume,
All right, so I'm gonna show you a book. Shout out to each one, teach one, my brother Jehudi, my aunt. You see this book?
Yes.
You see what it says right here?
African Free School. Yes, yeah.
Leaves from the African Free School presentation book. What year is this?
That's 1812 to 1826.
Right. So this book is telling you, right? In 1812 and 8 through 1826, there was an African free school.
Come on.
So these people were going to an African school.
Yes.
They were using this word. They were deeming it that. You got Brother Lavelle cooking now. You said something about food. He gonna immediately represent where he from.
Let's go.
He gonna immediately throw up the Congo square down there where he from, and
Real
that's
talk.
facts.
Real talk.
But when the brother Paul, Bitter Paul, as he is known, when he makes the assertion that we don't have evidence for it, we got evidence for showing where we come from. It's tons of it. There's manifest from slave ships, right? There's insurance documents that exist. There's the Freeman's documents, right? Then you say, well, there ain't no evidence for the slave ships. That's what the Abos argue. Then we got the whole list of the ships. We got all of that. We got that on the Mossy Warrior Clan presentation full of ships, shipping technology in the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
So it all goes back to my argument. Do people really understand what the hell oral traditions is or history is, right? And how do you go about assessing or attaining that body of knowledge that needs to be required? We don't hear the stories. Now that I'm saying stories, maybe somebody gonna come with a story and they gonna jack it up and we gonna know it's bullshit when we smell it.
Yeah. I would encourage those listening that actually seek truth, and I don't know, that word truth, it just leaves a bitter taste in me, right? Because I hear people say truth, or they're seeking truth, or they just want truth, but it's like they don't put no legwork behind it. So for those that are actually, inquisitive about these things, there's a registry that you can look up. It's called the National Register of Historic Places. The National Register of Historic Places. It talks about Congo Square, Smoketown Historic District. What was the other one? Christenstead Historic District, and so on and so forth, right? And all, the various cemeteries, African-themed, African-based cemeteries across the United States of America. So, again, the National Register of Historic Places.
So when you get into trying to get into when you try to get into your history, you got to become an anthropologist. You have to become an anthropologist. And you're going to have to understand the subfields of anthropology in order to help you be able to deal with research questions. So you're going to have to formulate some type of methodology to help you substantiate that. And what I'm showing people, or have been showing people, this show, the show before, and any other shows, is how to approach that and deal with it respectively. And I don't think that many people are understanding the teaching moment in it because they're so pressed with their feelings and emotions. And this ain't a topic for, or a subject matter for, feelings and emotions, because I don't care.
Right.
But when hold on, did you hear this comment at the beginning of the show?
Which one?
The comment from the brother, what he said. Hold up, I gotta get back to it.
He left it on the chat.
No. He didn't leave it on the chat.
All right.
I'm gonna play it.
All right.
I'm gonna play it if I can find it. There you go, boom. All right, so he go to brother in his own words. Hold on, let me not get that. All right.
See, that's why he didn't want to get into history, and he started talking that fucking tradition shit.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, it's low, but I can hear it.
All right, hold up.
A lot of people, a lot of times will say, well, my family tradition says this, my family tradition. That's not tradition. That's why that's how he won that discussion by talking about custom and belief. Because if you had family tradition, or if any of us had these Indian, Native American traditions, we would celebrate those. We need proof of it because it would be shown throughout your family that this is what we do. That is something that for generations, like we do with Christmas, right? That's a tradition. You don't need to prove that we do Christmas. No, I don't want to hear that from you. I want to hear it from your grandma. I'm showing you what grandma showed. You see what I'm saying? He hit you with that tradition shit, man. That nigga full of shit.
So he says I'm full of shit from last night's show. Without not even understanding what the show was about. So he's arguing from ignorance, feelings, and emotions. And I'm pretty sure that he's going back and forth right now in a back chat, and he's elaborating on his ignorance. But he doesn't understand what oral history is. But he was going to teach me this. How could you teach me this? And he's saying it's not a long discussion. He's not going to go back and forth, yada, 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 a bunch of bullshit. How could you make the assertion that you're making and you not even prepared to fully understand what, first of all, this dude named Bitter Paul, that's who that was, who I just played, his name is Bitter Paul. And he didn't understand the conversation from last night. And now he wants to come on and talk oral history. What oral history basically defined is about a story. And in so many words, hopefully I cleared the air and hopefully gave everybody an understanding of exactly what oral history is and how we can use it, how to properly use it. It ain't the facts. It's the story behind all of that. I'm from East Cleveland, 149th Street. And them duplexes over there. Look what she say immediately. Is that even a street in East Cleveland?
No. No.
You see how quickly she could dismiss the story based on her knowledge of East Cleveland. If I was to say, my grandmama said we from East Cleveland, what's your response, Denise?
No, I need more information.
So now you need more information to substantiate what my grandmama said?
Yes.
Why? She said we from East Cleveland.
No, because you gotta have something like, you gotta have something to say, that you was from there. You either lived there, you moved from there, like something. Not just you
I'm
from
from
there.
1999.
No.
I'm from
You
Phil.
need something. You need something extra.
So now I need something extra. You're not going to. So you're unwilling to accept what my grandmother told me about where we come from.
Yeah.
So why is it that people can say my grandmother said we always been here, and you accept it? It's the same thing. I didn't change nothing. It's the same thing. I changed absolutely nothing just then.
Right.
And you told me, nah, you're gonna have to give me more information. Well, my more information is, well, my great grandmother told my grandmother, and then my great grandmother's mother told them. Do you accept that, Denise?
No.
Right. So why come we have to accept someone saying that They've been here because of what they people say.
I don't know.
No, you do know because you just sit here and you fixed it when I talked about Cleveland and I made it more specifically about Cleveland. But when I made it about being in the Americas before anything else, now it's, I don't know. Now you're trying to flip it back. You're trying to protect.
Okay, so I understand that.
Hold on.
Well, then maybe it's the lack of knowledge of the history of the America.
Nah, I knew something was wrong. I knew there was something sizzling in my spirit.
What?
Something was sizzling in my spirit. I can no longer allow this to go on. I can no longer allow this to go on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh shit.
Why would you change my name?
I mean, there's a big there's a big differentiation between a rumor, right, and oral tradition, right, oral history. And I think that's one thing we gotta kind of infuse in people's minds and way of thinking, because when my study of oral tradition, it encapsulates integrity, right? And not just integrity, but it also possesses the accountability factor, right? When people hear oral tradition, they automatically think this is just word of mouth, right? But it goes beyond that. It's about the accountability of others being able to recite, the same information. It's kind of like the prayer poems, the prayer hymns of the Yoruba, right? What makes Babalao, a priest of that tradition, credible is that the orikis that he speak, right? It needs to match up with the same oriki that another priest is speaking, right? So it's not just me telling my children that they come from Mars, right? What makes that interesting and worth investigating is that if every Black household had that same oral tradition, that we come from Mars, and we don't see that with the whole Native American thing. Yes, we have grandmas, and it's funny that it's mainly grandmas. I don't know what that's about, but we have grandmas that tell us that we got some Cherokee in us, right? We have some Chata in us and things of that nature, but the remnant, right, is not the same among every every person within our community. You don't hear the same road of travel. There's no alignment. There's no, there's no, right. What my grandma told me is that we were Blackfoot, right? And my cousin, he told me his grandma, his maternal grandma, said they were Cherokee, right? The problem is that we share some of the same lineage, right? Because we both came out of Louisiana, right? I'm from California, born and raised, but our grandparents came from Louisiana. So both my paternal side and my maternal side came out of Louisiana, and his maternal side came out of Louisiana, and it just don't add up, it don't line up. So I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle that we need to really, look into, the credibility of it all. Are we saying the same thing? And unfortunately, we are not,
Go ahead, Denise.
I don't have anything to say.
Why you don't have nothing to say? Because I just made it simple and plain, and you know what you're doing. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I understand, but because I understand what you're saying, sure.
Nah, you. So how much longer you gonna keep protecting the pseudos, Captain
I'm not.
Sales?
I'm not.
I'm not
I
allowed.
understand what it is. I told you no. Thank you very
You
much.
just did it twice live in the last 10 minutes.
I understand what you're saying though. I get it. So you can't just accept that somebody told you this. You need supportive stories or evidence to that claim.
Something has to shake.
Hey, Sister Denise, let me ask you a question, right? You have friends that believe that they're indigenous to the Americas, right?
Yes.
Now, what do you see within their character, right? Any flaw that you see? Is there any type of self-hatred? Um, any type of fetishizing non-black traditions and things of that nature?
No, because their stance is not that they're not black. Their stance is that the people who were here were black.
Mm. And so if now have any of these friends went through other transitional periods of other knowledge-based systems like Hebrewism, Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
Islam?
Yeah, that's yes.
Huh.
I'm
Yeah.
answering it because you gonna play. Yes.
Okay. Okay. See, yeah, we have to really, and this is what I mean about the integrity of it all, right? Like we really have to look at these things because it all plays a role, within this. And as you begin to investigate more and more about oral tradition and Africanisms in America, you're going to run across information, and I have brought it up just recently about the creolization of African American culture, right? We are highly influenced by other cultures that seem to have it together, right? This is why uh, Black America is split. We're just totally puzzle piece. You know what I'm saying out here. I can go down the street and I'm Watts. Watts, California, South Central, LA. I can go down the street, run into a Moor, right? And then I can run into his brother, right, up the road from the street, and he claiming he a Hebrew Israelite. And then I can talk to his sister, and she claims to be a Native American, right? And then I can talk to his auntie, and she claimed that she's the original Black Scottish, right, or the original Black Irish, things of that nature. So I think we got to really be careful, especially in these days and times, because information, right, is out here. But unfortunately, it's not always accurate information. We're getting the water's getting muddied, right? And that's why I asked you that question, because oftentimes, we Black people, we have this psychosis, right? We're going through this what I call spiritual cultural schizophrenia, right? We have this split mind, right? The boys talk about the double mind, right, of Black folks, right? We have this double mind. It's our ingrained culture, right? Cultural expressions battling constantly with opposing forces, such as European culture, which is Western, Hindu culture, right? Native American culture, so on and so forth, right? Because I can also talk about that same guy, and I went down a list with his different families that have different perspectives of who they are. I can talk to his wife, and she's into tarot card reading, right? Which is not an African practice. It's not a Hebrew practice. It's not a Native American practice. It's none of those practices. It's a European medieval practice, right? Inspired by the Greco-Roman world and Indo-European, mythologies that were created in that lineage, right? So, what about you? Were you a Christian, Hebrew, more Muslim?
Are you talking about me?
Mm-hmm.
I was a Christian before.
Okay,
She,
and
I
she
can't be
showed
none of
she
that.
showed she
I
was a
can't
Christian.
be any of that other stuff.
She showed she was a Christian. She went to an all girl school.
Okay,
I
okay.
was not a Christian. That had nothing to do with religion,
Man, they
sir.
was founded on Christian principles.
I don't know about it.
How's your worldview now? Like your worldview, do you believe
She an
that
astrologist.
astrology?
Oh,
Okay,
y'all are funny as hell.
She's
okay,
an
okay.
astrologist, bro.
I am not an astrologist.
Yes, she is. She's an astrologist.
So all right. So your Christian upbringing, right? Do you find
Hmm.
at times that you're struggling with certain ideas that that you grew up with
No,
um, in your beliefs today? Like, does it ever
no,
cross your mind sometimes,
no. Because
like heaven or hell
oh,
and things like that?
no.
No.
Because even coming up, I didn't, I have a hard time conforming to things.
Mm,
So, I was always questioning it. And then I just, step up out of it. I go by my own, myself,
okay.
what is right and wrong to me. Because
Okay.
that I don't always agree with that, and that's why I can't really conform to a lot of things because I'm not going to agree with something wholly, and I'm not going to change my view to do so.
So you would say you are willing to hear out information, but you don't totally accept it just because you want to. It's more of a you want to feel that it's right for you, correct?
Yeah, if I agree with it and I can agree with the concept, then sure. And if I can understand it, because I can understand it and not agree. But if I
Oh,
understand that that's where that person's coming from, then it helps me to understand that person.
got you,
But
got you.
I don't agree with most religions, organized religions.
Oh, that's okay. That's interesting. You said organized religion. Okay, okay.
All right. Hey, real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to provide a source for people with methodology issues. It's called Practical Research Methods. It's a friendly guide to mastering research by Catherine Dawson, Dr. Catherine Dawson. It's not a lot. It's 169 pages, but it's informational. It's written in 2002. Of course, there's updated research books, but if you're collecting books, this is a book you want to get, especially for the subject matter, because you need to know how to define your project. If you claim that you are indigenous to this area, then you should have composed research questions that would set out to answer that. So now you have to decide on a methodology and understanding the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, and then progressing forward in how to choose your research methods. And then whether you're going to be doing interviews, focus groups, questionnaires, participant observations, those are important in choosing your methods. When you're talking about being an Aboriginal, you need to be doing interviews. You need to have some questionnaires for family. You're going to need genetic evidence. You're going to have to find material culture and traditions. You're going to need some things to substantiate your position. How did you how? And one of the main questions for me would be, how did you survive the winter? How did you and your family survive the winter? What are some old stories? Right? It's going to come back to that. Then you got to do background information, because you're going to have to find primary and secondary information to support whatever comes out of those interviews that you had with them people. And then more importantly, you got to make sure that even the people that you even dealing with, you got to choose them wisely. Then you got to go on with everything else. It don't stop. And what we don't see is people going through steps and putting all this information together to help you be able to answer your research question. All we get at the end of the day is I'm something without evidence. So I wanted to I put that in the description of the video. I was actually going to read from it, but I don't even want to get to all of that. So at the end of the day, a lot of what we're talking about right now it isn't really Ibaka. It really isn't Captain Saber Pseudo's argument. It's other people's argument, and she trying to be the mediator between them people and the facts. And she's trying to be the pillow. She's trying to soften the blow. She's trying to protect the ignorant.
I'm not. I was just bringing to you their stances and
Their
the way
stance
the average
that you
person
don't even agree with.
views.
Like, you can't say
But
average person because it's a
no,
lot of
no,
average people
no.
in the chat who don't even believe like that or don't even
I
think like that.
understand what you're saying, but I'm saying when people hear oral history, right? Because that's what I said. When you, at the end of your live before these last two, that's what I was saying. Like, well, wouldn't that be considered like an oral history or oral tradition? Because their grandmother said or their great grandmother said or whatever.
Nope.
And so I understand that now, but the average person's view of what oral history is
My
not
mama go give you a
what you
story.
explain. I understand, but that's that. I mean, I'm arguing that right now as we speak, and the fact that it is the
Oh,
story.
y'all arguing, but
And
you
people want
know.
to tell me it's not
Listen. If
like
grandmama
it
said
is. It's the
something,
story,
grandmama just didn't say something. Grandmama gave you a story.
right?
Grandmama gonna tell you, listen to me, son. Let me tell you about your uncle.
I understand that, and that's what I was
Your
saying.
uncle would
Like when you
sneak out of
say,
the house at night when I was gone to work, knowing he should have had his ass in the bed. No. I'm trying to give you an example of that, right? She's telling the story behind the facts.
yes,
She
I
just ain't gonna
understand that.
say your uncle once upon a time was strung out on heroin and was wanted by the police. She just don't say that. She give you the freaking story. He
I
hid under
know,
laundry from the police.
but Sean, sometimes you tend to forget that everybody is not researchers.
I
Everybody don't
don't.
read, and
No.
so they're not gonna know
No,
that. They're
you
not gonna
do
know
not
what that
allow me to
actually
get away with
is.
that. That is not how I approached it.
Sure.
Yesterday, how you and I talked, I approached it by not answering it, but allowing you to read it for yourself and having a conversation with you while we cleared the air.
But yeah, I know you didn't approach it like that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when I'm telling you this stuff, and you like, oh, you're just saving these pseudos, but it really is probably like more than 60% of people, if you ask them, would my grandmama said be considered oral history, they would say yes, and that's not true. Well, I know that now, but I said yes too.
And unfortunately, yeah, it's a numbers game with people, right? So the more people can agree to something, there's a bigger consensus. People tend to believe that's it's legitimate. You know, like the brother was saying about the mama, telling the story about uncle. One of the key elements of mama telling you about the uncle being strung out is also she'll also add in there, and auntie so and so, she'll tell you the same thing, right? So like my whole thing is, where's the cooperation, right?
Right.
Where's the cooperation with other people? Now it seems to be cooperation, right? Just like with the Hebrew Israelites, because there's more and more and more people believe in this. But you can't go back to the 60s and the 50s and 40s and get this same fervency for this, these concepts, right? Because of the World Wide Web now, everybody's kind of in a loop on what everybody's thinking about, and they're choosing based upon feelings what they want to gravitate towards, right? So to me, I just say, if you want the book, I put that book in the chat. I'll put the link to it. It's a PDF for free, and for anybody
You
that's
gotta
watching.
put it in the private chat.
Put it in a private chat. Okay, I put it in a regular chat, but I'm gonna put it in a private chat.
It don't show up in the regular chat unless you.
Oh, it didn't. Okay.
Yeah, it ain't show. So put it in the private chat. I'll put it.
I got you. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just Yeah, we kind of, I don't know. I think Brother Sean did a great job yesterday. I tuned in for that. You know, it was a lot of you know, he cracks jokes, you know, but there's a lot of sincerity in the brother from what I can tell, you know what I mean, from listening all these years and so on and so forth. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I think
you got to joke on her, bro. Because if
yeah, no,
you
you
do
did good, man. I was impressed, man. Like me, like I'm calm right now, but I'm a hothead. You know what I mean? Like I'm a hothead, so that's why. Like I've been blowing up on other platforms, man. Yeah, that's why I'm just kind of chilling. You know what I mean? Because my patience level is horrible. I'm working on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is a new era for me. I don't
I
know what's
try
going on.
patience levels. That's
You
my
what?
job. I try people's patience. That's my
Oh, you one
job.
of them.
But I
What they
learn.
call
I
it?
mean, but I still learn stuff. Well, I'm gonna try your patience.
So you toxic? Is that what they call it today? Yeah, that part.
Sometimes, but sometimes you need that to learn.
Hey,
Sir.
whatever floats your boat. I know 2023. I'm going off, man, on everything. But yeah, brother Sean, he's doing a phenomenal job. Because this is the spirit that I'm coming in right now. Like this is the moment right now. It's no more pussy around, right? All the play stuff that's over. That's done. Like we done sat back and we done put in the time, the effort, the discipline to studying and researching, asking questions, getting in contact with professionals and things of that nature, so we can, and you know, and then to turn around and everybody's just kind of philosophizing, you know what I mean, randomly without intention about this, that, and the third, and they get to say whatever they want to say, you know what I mean, and then as soon as somebody objects to what they're saying, they get upset. So yeah, it's about that time. Like caring about people's feelings is that time is over. For me, I'm saying for me, I ain't saying for nobody else, but for me, I'm not tolerating nothing in 2023.
All right, man. So I'm gonna let Denise get back to her Facebook group chat argument.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
paste this
Thank you, sir.
private chat.
Because
I will see you later on your
yeah,
next
she
show.
got a lot going on and she can't focus right now because she proving my point in the chat because she get it now and it makes even the most sense. And then they're still arguing from ignorance, or whoever she arguing with is arguing from ignorance because they're going to try to say that oral history is something else and not a story. That is where the confusion is. They think that is, if my auntie say that we came from this place, that's oral history. That is not. Oral history is a story. It is not what your auntie say. It's not what your mama say. It's not what your grandmama say. You gotta have a story. The story is the story is what substantiates the facts. It might not be everything. That's why you need multiple inclusions, but it in part it goes together. Because if you get the story from your grandfather and you get the story from your grandmother, but it's talking about your mother and father, you're getting all the information because one is going to tell a story that the other one is not going to tell because they remember certain things differently. The fact is how your mother and father met. They're going to agree on that, and then they're going to agree on other pieces of chain of events that occurred during that time, and then they're going to know something the other one doesn't know, and that's going to come out in that conversation as well. And then you put those things together, and then you deliver it with credibility because you can deal with the geographical locale of where they met. So you have all this other stuff that goes into that, when they got married, all this, you're going to have records. To simply say today that oral history is he say, she say is bullshit. I don't know who taught y'all, where you learned it from, and why you learned it as being that. It is crazy. I ain't even go back to traditions as the brother was asserting that I was doing. He kept saying that I keep going back to traditions. I ain't brought traditions up. I gave a clear-cut example. Now, if you don't have the stories, then you have to have something else. What was handed down? What other elements could have been handed down through history that you could use as evidence? That's going to be folklore, art, staple foods, clothing to a degree, because now you can make up some shit and we know it's made up. Some type of artifacts from the past, deities. Oh, that's going to go back to stories, which you ain't got. So miss me with all the other stuff. I ain't listening to that. I'm not gonna just accept it. Where's your proof? Where's your stories? And then the evidence behind the stories. So on that note, go enjoy y'all family. You fake aboriginals out here eating turkey and shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all running around here talking about you indigenous, you aborigines, you yada, yada, yada. But your ass is at a kitchen table right now eating turkey and ham.
Right.
You lying bastards.
Yep.
You lying mofos. You ain't here to make us think nothing. You here to confuse us. Get back to being African. Learn your history.
That's right.
Be black and proud, but black and intelligent, proud and smart.
Yep.
And that's how we gonna end this shit. We're gonna leave it just right there. And I will see y'all later on the Master Warrior YouTube channel, where we're gonna deal with it's gonna be later. The origins of Native Americans. We're gonna get into that. And we out.
It's in the place we all get a share. Niggas gon' hate, do I look like I care? I was dealing with pain, frustrated with life. How many were there? Thanks to the few for staying true. I owe this to you. It all comes with paying your dues. Some couldn't walk a day in my shoes. Light on my feet, never lie in the ass. You hummingbirds can't say you're bumping word I'm way out of your class. Oh, do I share? Y'all master degrees. Life is a test, every day is a task. Progress to your best, give it all that you have. Rip up the black pillar, paint off the F. Never lose sight of your goals. I made diamonds from doubt. Turn my grief into gold. My destiny was set in stone. They selling ass and selling souls. Hands off Asada, hands off my pocket. You know that chopper, bodies probably rock the blocker. All they heard was bow, bow, bow. Sound like Waka Flocka. Straight to the top about it, ain't no doubt about it. Best believe we on the road. No limit, so we body, chiefin' on a whole lot of woe. Number one with a bullet, no. Similarly, boost hit the function, we Hennessy. I feel like 96 Tennessee. Yeah, ho, I'm on they head, fo. Always ignoring the sound. Now I put more in they mouth. Don't call me a king when y'all giving whores the crown. Y'all niggas watered down in me. I'm prohibitionary looking. I'm like a 9 on the Brooklyn Sublime state of mind, no ordinary nigga.